and you can see here that I'm in the smallest of areas. So if your growing area is only this big, then I'm going to show you what you can do. You can see it looks nothing like all the sort of, you know, decorative ones that the other people here have got. So I've just got mine set up as a massive growing area. I just can't get out of the habit. It's just what I do. So I'm going to show you some seedlings that I actually sowed on the 3rd of February. So these are cold weather seedlings, and we've got here some frilly lettuce, and we've got some rocket. It's not a wild rocket, but it's a kind of rocket here. And we've got some Japanese greens and some turnips at the end. And they really need potting on. Now, they've been in these little pots for such a long time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slit a few lines in one of these and pot them on, with the idea of trying to harvest the leaves while they're young instead of letting them grow. Because my experience with these Japanese greens is basically that as soon as it gets a bit too hot or dry, they just go to seed, they bolt. So I don't want that to happen, so I'm just going to put them in here, and I'll show you what that looks like as I go. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have to do this one-handed because I don't have someone with me. I mean, I can do it this side, it doesn't really matter, but I'll do it on the bottom side. Is I'm just going to cut a couple of just really small holes so that we don't get too waterlogged on the underside. So that's that done. And I've considered different ways of doing this, but I think I'm going to go with my original feeling, which is just 3 long slits, I think. Or maybe I'll do one and just see how it goes. So I'm going to take a long slit down here like this. Not very straight, but it doesn't really matter. Oh, look what's just come out of there, a piece of twig. Now, before I go and do any more, I might change the next 2, because I'm going to put 3 rows in here and just have sort of a little break here so that the plastic stays together. And I'll show you what I mean. We might as well do it now. So do a slit here like that, then leave a gap, do another slit, leave a gap, and another slit, leave a gap, and another slit, and then the plastic stays together a bit better. So this is all an experiment as we go. Here I might do squares. Let's just see what happens if I cut sort of squares in about the distance that I want, and we'll be able to measure what happens as we go along. So give me a moment, I'm just going to get it all ready and I'll show you what it looks like in a moment. Right, so I just cut all these squares along here. They've got narrower and closer together as they've gone along, but it doesn't really matter. There's plenty of goodness there in the soil to keep all of these plants really well fed. So I'll just get the box down now, which I'm going to need 2 hands for, I think. So I'll come back to you. Here we go. So these are called Crisca. They're that sort of Italian crinkly lettuce that are well ready to pot on. As you can see there, they're looking like they've got a good few roots on, and because they're quite low growing, I'm going to put them near the front. Oh, look who's just turned up. Oh, hello Lou, there she is. So yeah, so I'm just going to lay those along the front, and I tell you what, I'll just see if I can show you how to push one in. So I'm literally just going to push that aside with my fingers. The depth of the bag is probably about the height of that, and you can see that's just slipped in nicely. Just going to push that in like that. And when I've finished with this, I'm going to give it a little water from the top. The bag itself is quite moist, so I'm going to plant all the lettuce along here. I think I'm going to put the rocket along here, and I'm going to put the Japanese greens along here. Now I'm not sure if I'll get any turnips in, I might do. The Japanese greens will grow quite tall, and they will shade the lettuce a little bit if I leave it here. The beauty of putting it on one of these huge trays, of course, is that I can move it wherever I want, and lettuce tends not to enjoy hot sun, and I am in full sun here all day, but obviously in the next few weeks we won't be as hot as high summer, because it's only April the 2nd today, and so therefore I'm going to get some lovely greens in the next few weeks. that I can harvest and make a salad from. So I'll plant the whole thing up. That's the general principle. Just put a hole in, drop your plant in, and you'll be ready to go. I'll show you it shortly. Wow, just as I got onto the rocket, look how well packed in that rocket is. That is more than ready to put in the grow bag. So I just wanted to show you that, how pot bound they can get so quickly. So I say quickly, it's been in since February 3rd, but it's been very slow growing conditions, obviously, because we're nowhere near high summer. So I'll just put those in as well. So as you can see, I've planted all these up, and I have actually cheated and put a little bit of plastic sellotape here to keep those sides together, because I put one long slit in and it's just bowed out too much. So this is all planted up. Now these things hold a lot of nutrition, because normally you grow 3 tomato plants in this and they take up a lot of nutrition out of the soil. So this should be pretty good for all of this. In fact, if these lettuces here get done with, I could just rip them out and put some more babies in. So what I'm going to do with all of these, and I'm already doing it, as you can see, I've been picking off little shoots, is take the leaves and mix them into a nice salad. I've got plenty left here, so I can either put those down the allotments nearby or take them up to the woods and grow them in the polytunnel. With the what do you call them, turnips here, the tops are full of calcium apparently, so very high calcium content. I wouldn't eat them raw in a salad because they're a little bit prickly, a bit like what do you call it, stinging nettles, but they don't sting, they're just furry. But I would sweat them down in a pan with some garlic and onion and eat them as a green, and they're very edible. So there you go. So look forward to seeing you. Well, you're probably watching this as we are on the course. So there's one little lesson. I've just got to water now and the job's done. So just to do a summary, I decided to shallow plant these, the surplus of that was put in the modules. And what you can do is you can find these anywhere pretty much, in waste skips, and just ask people if you see a stack sitting somewhere, can you have 1 or 2? And I've lined it with plastic, put a few holes in the bottom, and just put a shallow layer of compost in the bottom, because these things don't need huge big pots. You need lots of surface area and not so much depth, whereas the big pots, I'll just scan over to these big pots, they really need, because they're full of fruiting shrubs, they need lots of space for roots, whereas these little ones, they don't need any space for roots. So there you go.